Hi, Andrea. Thank you so much for coming to this show and taking the time out for me and my audience. I really appreciate it. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah, just on that little cusp of whether I question mark whether I've got COVID or not, but apart from that, absolutely fine.
Yeah, that's great to hear. Super excited to do the podcast with you and learn more about you and also about your book, which is Business Enjoyment Book. So, yeah, before you get into learning more about your book and everything, our audience would love to know more about you. Who is Andrew Miller is? How do you get into like business coaching and coaching entrepreneurs? And yeah, like how did you choose the career path?
Yeah, so my background is I've followed the traditional path that we're sort of all taught that we should do: go to school, get qualified, get a job, so on and so forth. And more by luck than judgment, I fell into a particular role, which is in the accountancy arena. So technically, I'm
Yeah.
an accountant. Hooray. And it gets even bleaker than that. I was actually an insolvency practitioner.
Right.
So my job was, if companies would go bust, we would take control of that company, run it with the intention of keeping it alive, hopefully sell it, save the jobs, get money back for people who are owed money as much as we can. Obviously, the banks get there first, get in first, but yeah, so that was with one of the large accountancy firms.
Yeah.
Worked all over the UK, worked around the world as well. Lived in Australia too, Far East, Europe. So yeah, gave me lots of experience. But basically, my job was running businesses.
Yeah.
And as I said, I'd sort of fallen into it. It hadn't been a choice in that sense. And like everybody, when you follow that path, you just make do. You end up in a job, and it's like, well, okay,
Yeah.
I'll work on the job and get better at the job and get better and go up the promotion paths and all the rest of it. And then I had one of those aha moments when sort of I was looking at various things, my values, the values of the firm. It was an exercise that was going on, but I just had one of those moments when, oh yeah, I'm
Right.
not enjoying what I do. And just realized, no, I don't want to be doing it. And it took me a while to get out or work out what I did want to do. But I'd always been interested in working with people
Right.
and working with their specific, what goes on in their head and all that sort of stuff. So that sort of moved me into the coaching. And eventually, when I left and stood up my own coaching practice, it started off by a very specific niche, which was helping business owners that were going through insolvency and failure, help them deal with the emotional stress that goes with that, because that often overlooked, because we talk about business so much in terms of the systems and process and all the rest of it, but there's so much which is emotional and mindset and all the fears that surround us and all that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And over time, I mean, that was a very specific thing. That's why I wrote my first book in that area, which was an award winner, and started speaking to government about how to support these people to get back up on their feet again. But actually, we got broader than that, because I started working with other people and noticed that, okay, people have lost everything, not that happy, get that. But most people that were running their business and they were doing okay, weren't really, enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I've met people that were really successful, and it's like they were still being sort of treated for stress and anxiety and depression. And you just think, hang on a sec, what's your excuse? And that's where the sort of concept of business enjoyment came from. It's like, well, we're taught, implicitly, if not explicitly, that it's all about making money at the end of the day. We've got a business is a thing for making money. It's all about the bottom line. You've got to get profits, get your six-figure business, bam, 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 bam. And you can do that, but you can miss out on so much more in the process if that's all you focus on. And that's where the concept of business enjoyment comes from.
Yeah. So how long have you been like a business coach now?
10 years, come out for 11 years now. Gosh, yes, didn't that year go quickly? Yeah, 11
That's
years.
a long time.
So, within that, it's been a little, as I say, it started off in a certain niche. It's about, and I find this with business itself, the journey of business is actually the journey of self. So as I've got to understand myself better, then what I do and how I do it for has improved as well.
Yeah, in the last 10, 11 years, you saw the gap, like the business owners you work with, there is no enjoyment there. Everyone's working for money, everyone's working for like paying bills and stuff. and they're doing the job they have to do. It's not like they want to do, right? So then the concept
Well,
is
I mean, certainly with the jobs, we're kind of, as I say, trained to be a certain way and put up with a certain amount. But then those of us that step out and go and set up our own businesses, whilst we might love the thing itself, all this other stuff sort of comes in. So we end up bringing in all the bad practices that we only know from the corporate world. So we end up creating all the problems that we had in the job, and we're doing it to ourselves. Plus, we are now out in the world, and all the there's no hiding place. You know, all the fears and insecurities and the issues you didn't know were there because they were protected by the corporate environment suddenly come landing on you, and suddenly gets very scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, like the business enjoyment book, tell us a little bit about it. Like, what's in the book? Like, how do you explain what is business enjoyment?
Yeah, so the book's called More Than Just Money, and the idea behind it is to obviously raise the issue kind of just alluded to there. You know, a lot of the time, a lot of the standard business messages are about dealing with surface issues rather than going deeper. So time management, for example, that's all about here's a system or a process that can improve your time management, but actually you've got to start internally first and change your perception as to who you are, why are you not holding on to your boundaries and defending your territory, that kind of stuff. So it just raises the concept. We introduced the concept of the business enjoyment model, which is not that loosely based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which most people are familiar with, but not everybody. We can run through that in detail if we want to. So we'll talk about how a better way of looking things are. And we also introduced how you can actually use it to essentially kind of come up with solutions to any problem that you're facing, because actually that's sort of the whole idea behind it. If we can understand what actually drives us and how we move and why we don't do the things we aren't doing, we can then unlock certain other things and say, okay, actually I know what I need to do, what's stopping me from doing it, and we can use that as a way to move forward.
So it's like a More Than Money, that book. So when we try to understand it, like you coach your clients or like entrepreneurs who come from like dealing with their anxiety, like their self-doubt on moving forward with their business, like how do you help them out in terms of like overcome the kind of fear and enjoy the moment or enjoy that process? It's not all about like hitting your goals all the time.
And obviously everyone's different in a different situation, so it's not all about anxiety and that sort of thing. I mean, I'll give an example. One of my clients came to me, and when we first started working together, he had a small business and it was working fine, and he never wanted a big business, but they just had a third child coming on the way, and that meant that he needed to increase the income just to cover the costs, but he'd lost a little bit of the pizzazz and the excitement for what he was doing because he was working with people that were a little bit annoying, and he'd lost his passion. So it's a mixture of things. So because of my background, I've got my business skills and I've got personal skills. So I can the business side of things in terms of how we're actually going to sell it, market it, run the cost, whatever it might be, but also because of certain therapy type things I've trained and counseling type stuff that I was doing with the people lost and everything. We can go deep, we can go into work out what the beliefs are going on, what the psychological triggers are, and we can do things. So with him using as an example, it was a case of, right, what is it that stops you actually earning more money than you currently are, and he had a money block going on, so we had to do some deep belief work on the money block, which then just naturally opened up a few things and made things easier. But he didn't like selling or promoting himself or anything like that, so we had found a different way of doing it, so that it wasn't the traditional go to a networking event and stand up and speak, but using a bit more of his style and his skill and his natural sort of ability, so that he hasn't dramatically change what he does. He's just made enough tweaks so that now he's earning like twice as much as he ever was. His wife's been able to give up work and go and do what she wants to go and do as her passion. The kids are growing up fine, and they're actually putting money to one side for pensions and private schools and all this kind of stuff. And you actually look at what he does, it's not a massive difference, as I say, but it's just these fun, tiny little tweaks that just sort of open up the stuff, and it's like he loves what he's doing again. He's having time at home with the family and the kids, and he's actually, you know, earning more than he ever was before. So yeah, it's working out where each person is and where they need to get to.
So it's
And,
about
and he's
individual
still not going to rule the world. That's never the plan.
Yeah. So it's a individual thing, but right now we have like everyone wants to be entrepreneur, everyone wants to own a business, and oftentimes now is the social media. We learn from like a YouTube, like follow lots of gurus out there. So it's all about hustle. It's all about like a grinding 14 hours, 15 hours. Some of them are saying 18 hours a day, work 80 to 100 hours. In UK, like we don't work 18 hours most of the cases, probably, even though you're a multi-billion dollar business, 12 14 hours is fine. But for US listeners, those listening, they standard like 16 to 18 hours, like if you're making 8-figure 9-figure business. So when it comes to that kind of situation, like we are in a kind of rat race again. We are chasing, for whatever reason is, some people chasing money, some people chasing fame, some people is like, I want to prove someone. They lose out their like own balanced life. Like the relationship is not fine with your spouse, your partner, or like people around you in friend circle. Also, the kids not seeing their parents. And how do you balance out that? And like in the same time, you build your big business or whatever business you want to build.
Ultimately, it comes down to priorities. And one of the big things for me, and what the fundamental secret, I suppose, of business enjoyment is ultimately in that why space. Why do you do what you do? What's the purpose? What's the reason for doing it? And you know, I tend to work with people that have been established for a few years rather than new startups, but I have worked with a few startups, but I want to know why they're doing it. That's the key thing. So if someone's there, it's like, I want to make a load of money, I want to be famous. Okay, that's great. Don't have an issue with that in itself, but why? What's that money going to be used for? Why is that important? What does he want to get from it? And when people understand exactly what they're doing, why they're doing it, then priorities can start being taken important. So there's no such thing as work-life balance in itself. There isn't a set number of hours which is right. It's what right is right for each individual person. So if someone wants to work 15 hours a day and that fits in with what's going on, then great. If it's causing a problem, then we'll look at that and see what they're causing problems, see what we can do about it. You know, I think there's a lot of people that sort of spend time doing what they feel they ought to be doing, feel like they should be doing, and it's not really working, and it's not really producing any results, and actually they don't enjoy it either. Social media is a classic example. You've got to be on social media, you've got to be posting 6 times a day. It's all about consistency, and most people I know, that including myself, that drives you absolutely mad. It's just a chore, it's a pain. If you're into it, great, then run with it. But it's all about finding, it's all, you know, at the end of the day, life is about trying lots of different things and canning the ones you don't like and keeping going with the ones that you do like and that work for you, sort of thing. So it's again, it's about individual thing. But the thing about working hours and having an issue with the family and all that sort of stuff is when you get back to the why and that sort of thing. If they're doing it for their family, for example, it's like, I want to build a, I need to support my other half, I need to build a future for my kids, sort of thing. Then you can start thinking, well, okay, if you're doing this for your family, then if you're working every hour God sends, yes, you might be able to make the money, but if your family aren't around anymore because they've not seen you for years and they bugger off, then you've done it for nothing. So you can start, when you understand what your priorities are, you can start making better choices.
Yeah, it's about where you are, right? So if you're like a single person trying to build something for next 5 years, go all out is fine. Like 18 hours is totally fine. Like when I started, I started my business age of 19, started a restaurant. At the same time, I was building my marketing business as well at the same time. So I was working between 5 p.m. to 12 p.m. on a restaurant, then come back home. Then all night I'm working till morning 6, 7, then I go sleep. So I really didn't need like a work-life balance because there was no kind of family around, or like I'm not married or like I have any partner or anything. So I had the time and opportunity. But right now I'm working like 2-3 hours a day on my business and rest like doing a podcast another 2-3 hours. And this is works for me because I love to go praying mosque and everything. I love spending time with my little boy and my wife, and that's my priority. This is why I'm working. This is why I'm building business, and I don't want to compromise their time to build something which is like meaningless. Because
Absolutely.
yeah, I started business because of the time freedom and the location freedom. It was never like building like a billion-dollar business. So it's never like about the money. It's like as long as
Mm.
you're paying bills and everything, and if with the hours I can build a $10 million business, that's totally fine. Like working 2 or 3 hours. A lot of people are actually doing it. Like I saw a lot of Amazon businesses, Shopify, like coaching businesses, are working like 2 or 3 hours a day just managing it, and they have like a team around them, and they doing it totally fine. And that's work fits in their criteria. It doesn't really have to be always like a massive business with lots of employees and a lot
Mm.
of things, because technology made it so much easier, and every individual need to assess like why they're starting a business. Like you mentioned, it's about asking at the beginning why you want to get into business. Is because you hate the job, your boss, or like inside of you is your entrepreneur, inside of you you're a business owner, and you love every aspect. Because the grass is not always greener. It's not easy to build a business and sustain and make it successful. Like 99% of the businesses go out of business in the past year. So
Mm.
it's really
And
tough
again,
to.
what you allude to there is there's again, it comes back to the why sort of thing, but
Yeah.
the drivers that we have sort of shift. So using the NLP phraseology that people may be familiar with, but you've got an away from drive and you've got a towards drive. So you know, I don't want to be tied to a job. I don't want to be run out of money. So very much away from sort of I want to make this business successful, so I don't have to do a job kind of thing. That's a motivation to get you away from. And exactly as you're saying there, we need to make sure we're putting food on the table and covering the bills and having a reasonable level of life. We're allowed that. So there's an element of having that drive to create a level of business that gives you that, and that can be a ranging level. It's different to everybody, but there comes a point when as the business becomes stable, successful, whatever it might be, where you're making plenty of money, that's all nice and simple. You then get to the point, but the second question of why am I doing it? And this is where the purpose sort of concept comes in. So I find a lot of people who have had very, very successful businesses, but they've just been ticking the boxes of making successful business. They've not touched into who they are and realized that now that they've done everything that they've done, they now have an opportunity to do something absolutely amazing. And that there's something over and above that. It's like, okay, I'm getting enough money. I've got a nice stable business. I'm having a great time. I'm with my family. I've got spare time and all the rest of it. But there's still something missing. And that can be another level where we can then go to in terms of, right, when we get deep and to really understand what really matters to me that makes a difference in the world, I can now take all that experience and those stuff and then move into a different space where I can see I'm making a difference, I'm changing the world kind of thing, and still use all those skills and all the rest of it. And that, again, that's another level yet again.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And then when it comes down to like going back to your book title, More Than Money. So we are in a 2022 right now. There is a new resolution and everything still on a January 1st. A lot of people are still doing it or already done the new resolution, but probably a lot of people haven't done it right. It could be the business goal is all about revenue and how much profit they're gonna make, rather than where is the balance between the process where they're gonna enjoy in a day-to-day activity. So when you work with your coach, your clients, or how do you tell them like how can you plan your whole year and where you can have the enjoyment while you're doing the business?
And I'm kind of, for an accountant, a coach, is it a weird thing to say, but I'm kind of against in many ways the concept of goals and planning. I find that we can dip too much into that sort of space. Nothing wrong with terms of having a rough plan and idea and benchmarks and that kind of thing. But we can put too much pressure on ourselves to set a perfect smart goal and all the rest of it, which then hangs over us for all the time. And it's like, I'm not achieving it, and we feel bad because we're not getting there. And then we do achieve it. We don't feel as happy as we thought we would because we're attaching our emotional our emotional priorities to the result of something in the future.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of a general direction. Where is it roughly I'm going? What are the things that are important to me? What the values need to be in that? So, for you talking, it's like, I do want to sort of be increasing my biz, but keeping my time with my family is really important. So I need to preserve that. So that's sort of one of the values, but I need to be enjoying what I do over here. So that's one. So you end up having sort of some ingredients into what you do and a general direction. And what that does, it creates a bit of an alchemy in terms of, okay, I don't know where I'm going to be in 6 months' time or what I'm doing in 4 months' time, but right here, right now, I can do this, do that, move forward in here. Here's something that comes up. Here's some idea. Oh, that's exciting. And you just get curious and passionate and start doing different things. And then little projects crop up, an idea, and it all moves you forward in the right direction, still using the same ingredients of your values and what's enjoyment and all the rest of it. And you kind of get away from where I need to be in a 10-year plan to today's great, tomorrow's great, and I know where I'm going in the next few weeks. Fantastic.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So you have it like a short-term goal rather than like a whole year plan out, right?
More of an out. It's more of a there's a phrase that one of my coaches uses. It's like a goal is a place to come from than a place to get to. So who do you want to be? If we often get that, when I get there, then I will be, kind of thing. When I get there, I'll be happy. When I get there, I'll be successful, sort of thing. But if what you wanted to achieve in 12 months time had happened now, how would it be different for you?
Right.
And then if you get into a state of, okay, well, let's imagine it has happened and let's be there. Let's be there now. Be happier and be doing this, and then you start shaping the now, and the rest comes. So it's more about being in the moment to a certain extent with a general direction that you're heading towards, which then it sort of works itself out a little more with alchemy. If that makes sense. I mean, it depends. Some people, they do need a rigid plan, and that's the way their mind works. Fine, we can do detailed plans. That's not a problem. But I find that sometimes they're too rigid.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. Like we see like 2020, 2021, we had a lockdown and unexpected things happened. A lot of goals and everything didn't go the way it should be going because like we don't control the whole situation because lockdown restriction. A lot of business has gone shocked, even though right now a lot of businesses, even the coaching businesses, doing over Zoom and everything. Most businesses going over, but at the beginning of the first lockdown, everyone got shocked. All kinds of businesses, even the internet businesses, like how doing gonna do businesses. It took like a few weeks to adapt and understand like we can still do business with the Zoom. We can still doing like creating an online store or something. Even though we have a retail store, we can do that. We do delivery services. Those who's in a restaurant, takeaway businesses. So like you have to make the changes on a certain situation. It could be like your health in a different direction. You had like a goal of making 250,000 for this year. And a lot of things like you can't control, like how many customers you get, how many sales you're gonna make, because it's always the other person, like are they gonna actually buy or not? Because lots of gurus can teaches you like the conversion works this way and that way. But we have to understand at the same time, the business we are asking the money for, like is the business in a position to give you the money, or the person, the consumer is in a position to give you the money? Because we've seen like inflation and everything in the UK is rising and everything. So it's not going to go same way like what 2021 was like buying a housing and everything. We saw like houses market is booming. Everyone's buying houses and the state agent, everyone making lots of money, but we don't know what's going to happen in 2022, 2023. It's not going to go always the same way. So whatever they made, if they're projecting same amount of money they're going to make this year, probably they're not right because the mortgage not going to be like affordable. Things not going to be affordable. So I totally agree with you. Like we don't control the situation.
And that's the key. That's exactly the key word there is control, because those targets of, as you say, the turnover targets as an example, that has so many elements in it that are outside of our control that we can't really get that. What we can control is what we do, how we feel, where we go on a day-to-day basis. There's actions that we can control that we can do. We can't control the result of those actions. We can take feedback and tweak our actions to try and get a better response or whatever it might be. But One of the other phrases I use is sort of in the sort of the enjoyment space is it's business is actually about being comfortable in chaos.
Yeah.
That's the opposite of what most people need to try and control everything. But if you can get to a space where, exactly as you've just saying there, particularly in the last few years, where it's just like, boom, who the hell knows what's going on?
Yeah.
But if you stay within yourself and control what you can control, you can stay comfortable and keep moving and keep shifting. And if that involves a sidestep to still take you in the right direction, there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, same here. Like a lot of businesses had a probably big growth plan, and they didn't go as they expected. At the same time, like a business like Amazon, they was booming without their expectation because they had no clue like they're gonna have like a loss of customers, loss of sales. The reason is like retail stores and everything was closed down, so people are buying from eBay, people buying from like Amazon, like Argos, and others like online retail stores. So they didn't expect it like the turnover was going to be like 200% increase or 100% increase. That was like a beyond their goal. So we can certainly think like either positive way or negative way was gonna things turn around. So with my view, like with my business, what I tend to focus, which is like a process. So if we need X amount of clients, X amount of revenue, what's the month like? How many people we need to talk? How many people need to see our product? Then that's it. Just leave it on the side what's the revenue and everything comes, because we don't control that anymore, and just focus on the day-to-day and week-to-week activities.
It's worth thinking about those numbers.
Yeah.
But what do we need to be doing, and who do we need to be for that to happen? And so you're into the space of setting an intent and letting go of the of the outcome, but you can control the outcome. So it's worth thinking about those numbers, but it's removing the attachment to getting them. So they end up being benchmarks and feedback in terms of, okay, are we on track? Are we not? Oh, we're not. Okay, let's work out what we need to do to sort of shift things a little bit or whatever it might be, rather than I need to get to that figure, which then create stress.
Yeah, definitely. That makes it like a more, if you don't achieve it, you feel like you're a failure and you have a self-doubt, and that cripples in. Because some people probably, when I started my career, like when my marketing agency, a lot of people started in the same time. My first year, I just made only £10,000. Whole year, I just made £10,000. And other people, like the same students, like the mentor I learned from, his students are, some of them doing six figures, some of them $250,000 a year. And if I followed their steps and got discouraged myself, if I had that kind of big goal, then I wouldn't be existing right now. My company multi-million-pound worth now. And if I just valued like what my first year was like, then I wouldn't go through my third, fourth, and fifth year. And I'm just comparing with the other person's goal and other person's their achievement, because they was in the right time in the right situation for their right business. Probably I wasn't in the right time for the right situation with the right clients for my situation, and the results would be varies for like a different individual and different. Probably they had like a different kind of experience that way they can sell and other things, and I didn't have that. I had to learn this, and also like there's so many things like I couldn't control. Right now, even though myself, like I get in the shock, like I used to do like 100 sales call and everything, probably not closing one or two deals in a whole like a 2-3 months time. But right now, if I'm making like a 5 sales call and I'm just closing 2, it just like when I look back, it's like kind of miracle is happening. It's not like dramatically I'm doing something. It's not like I'm pressuring someone or anything. It's just pitching them and people are doing it. Probably because I'm in a business in the long term. Like it's been 5 years.
And you I mean, it's a real dichotomy in many ways, because you kind of, it's like, going back to that work-life balance kind of thing, it's something which is very important and useful, the perseverance, the ability to keep going, to grind through the work kind of thing, is really, really important at one point. But then if we're not careful, it can then tip into becoming a problem. So that's where we need to, when it becomes overworking and stressful and all the rest of it, so we move back, but and then what you're talking about there is a case of, by doing all those hundreds of calls in the first year and getting knocked back and rejected and all the rest of it. You'll have tweaked and changed and found things that work better for you and understood yourself better as well. So when you're having a conversation with somebody, you're in a much more relaxed space because you know what you do, you know who you are, and you know who you want to work with. And if they don't want to work with you, that's okay. That's fine. That's not a problem. But if you're the right sort of person to work with me, then we're going to get on a house on fire. I'm going to do some wonderful stuff. Fantastic. And it just takes almost like the pressure off the conversation, so you can have less conversations, you get better results, which is exactly what you're doing. It's beautiful.
Absolutely. So Andrew, so we are running out of time this podcast. So with your business program, those who's listening, I have like a lot of entrepreneurs who's listening to this show from UK and US. If they want to work with you and learn more about your program, how they can find out?
I mean, if they go to my website, businessenjoyment.com, and they'll get a pop-up there anyway to get access to the More Than Just Money book. And free means they have to put their email in. And you might get back 5 emails from me, so because I'm not a big spammer. Seriously, not that much. So I do work with one-to-one people as necessary, and it depends where they are, so I'm always open to discuss whatever's. But I also run these discussion groups called Breathing Spaces, and they're based on the business enjoyment model. So we catch up each month. And we're limited in terms of numbers. We only have up to 8 people, but it's an opportunity to build trust, get different points of view, share experiences, and we roll around the model. So we've got a different theme each month: feeling safe, find your tribe, inner confidence, find your purpose, money hang-ups, and overarching business enjoyment. It allows people to talk at a deeper level and share each other's experiences and stuff. And they're good value for money. They're only £20 a month, so they're good. So so go to the website, businessenjoyment.com, download the book, and if you want to have a chat further, then all my contact details will be on there.
Yeah, that's great. So thank you so much for taking the time out today and sharing about your experiences. And I really appreciate it for you coming to the show. So I wish you good luck with your business and whole new year, where you achieve more, and also congratulations again for your TED Talk. So hopefully our listeners can watch and listen to that as well when it's out. And I appreciate it, Andrew.
Thank you very much for having me on. And yes, as I say, it might be a week or so, but I'll share it with you once I've got the information on that as well. So thanks for having me on.
You're most welcome. So that's a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for listening. So you know how to find Andrew and download his book on his business website, businessenjoyment.com, and reach out to him if you want to work with him or learn about more. So till then, stay safe, stay healthy. I'll talk to you in the next episode. Take care, everyone.